Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Anthony Reviews, where Anthony reviews. And we've got a bit of a comparison for you guys today. I'm going to be looking at 3 of the main releases for Transformers Cyberverse Starscream. So, over the past couple of years, I've managed to acquire a figure here, a figure there, and since we're reaching the tail end of the Cyberverse franchise, I figured now would be a good time to kind of compare the main 3 available at retail. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Throughout the history of Transformers, there are key characters that seem to pop up no matter the series. Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, even though he wasn't there for a few years, but that's changed now. Another one of those iconic legacy characters is, of course, Starscream. Again and again, this treacherous jet makes his way to store shelves. And the recent show Cyberverse is no exception. Starscream actually got quite a few figures from this show, and today we shall be taking a look at 3 of them. The first one here is the first to be released in the Cyberverse toy line. One look and you can tell that this was meant to attract kids, while the movie series figures, which sat next to them on store shelves, were made to draw in the adult collectors. Transformers fans, however, have a tendency to attach to most, if not all, versions of the franchise, even if they aren't intended for them. The only reason I bring this up is to provide some context for this toy. It's clearly designed to be played with by children, not necessarily admired for its keen detail and such. Now, with that said, it's time for me to scrutinize this figure. In a recent Q&A, I was asked what was a figure that I had that didn't like, but I needed for my collection. I somewhat drew a blank at the time, but I'd say I think I have my answer now. I just find nothing appealing about this toy, if I'm being honest. The lack of paint gives the whole thing a severe, cheap feeling. And yes, it is technically a little bit cheaper than some other figures, but not by much. The articulation is standard affair at first, but very limiting once you start to actually pose the thing. It all feels very hindered by the gimmick involved. His wing slice attack is activated by doing this. I guess this could be fun enough for a kid, but because of this feature, his wings and waist just feel loose. Combine this with his hollow legs, and you just feel like you're playing with the most expensive dollar store toy there is. Needless to say, I'm not a fan. And as you would imagine, the jet mode is what it is. Kind of ugly, but it gets the job done, I suppose. The next figure, while still a very much gimmick-based toy, I feel improves on pretty much everything set up here for this character. Just by looking at this later release of Cyberverse Starscream, you can already see just how far a little paint detail can go. The colors just pop so much when they highlight a figure's best features. And while this figure does take some liberties with the overall design, we'll get more into that with the vehicle mode, he still gives off the general vibes of the character. As I mentioned before though, he is still a toy with a built-in gimmick, this one tied to his null rays as opposed to his wings. Because of this, we get the opposite problem we had with the last figure. While that one felt loose, this one is as stiff as a board. You can't really move him around much at all and is somewhat stuck in this, I guess you would call it, stoic stare down. Which, let's be honest, isn't exactly what Starscream is known for. So while the colors and design are all here, the overall articulation takes away from this figure for me. Luckily though, there is still fun to be had. His transformation is the most simple yet, and that is extremely satisfying to me as a toy. I don't care if the jet mode is not accurate whatsoever, I just think it's neat. But after 2 gimmicky toys aimed at children, but purchased by adults, we man-children finally got what we wanted. The third installment comes at the tail end of the Cyberverse series. 3 seasons have come and gone, and while we're supposed to be getting some movies on Netflix in place of a season 4, we haven't even gotten a screenshot from those. So for now, this figure kind of represents the last hurrah for Cyberverse Starscream. And for what it is, it's the best one yet. This figure costs slightly more than the other 2, putting it at the same price as most figures found in stores. But he certainly does the most so far. There's a balance here of decent paint apps, respectable articulation, and this one manages to come with accessories which really makes this one stand out. He's also the figure that most accurately depicts how Starscream looks in the cartoon. While his robot mode surely shows off what a $5 price increase can do, it's the plain mode that I'm not super fond of. Maybe it's the disjointed colors or just the plain in general, but I'm not a huge fan of this mode. I think I'd even take the non-accurate Galaga ship from the last toy over this. But weird plain mode aside, this figure still looks really nice. I stated at the beginning of this review that Cyberverse was clearly designed to be a toy line for children, while the adults were focused on other toys in the brand. But a Transformers toy is a Transformers toy, so people like me tend to buy things for varying reasons. Maybe it's because they collect a specific character and need it for the overall collection. Or maybe the toy just looks genuinely fun, and it's nice to have fun every now and then. Whatever the reason may be, if Hasbro makes it, fans will at least buy it long enough for them to like it, only for then for it to be immediately cancelled. Thanks, Cyberverse. I know you're technically not over yet, but you basically are, and so I guess this is kind of your send-off. Thanks. So there you guys go. Those were my thoughts on the 3 main Cyberverse Starscream figures. You know, it's kind of tough to really tackle something that's specifically made for children. But, you know, there's some good, there's some bad. You just kind of have to, you know, dig in, I suppose. But let me guys know what you thought of the video. You know, comment. Tell me, guys, what other kind of content you'd be looking for. I don't know. Do you guys like Transformers content? You want more of that? You know, just use the comments for whatever you like, I guess. I'm not too picky. Just don't be rude. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. Of course, I've done a collection tour of this apartment pretty recently. I also did a Q&A where I answered some toy-related and, you know, non-toy-related questions. Share the video if you'd like. It really helps out. Subscribe. You guys know, you know, it's YouTube. You know what's going on. But thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.